Today I'm going to show you how to make a foam trough out of ordinary styrofoam containers. Used polystyrene or styrofoam containers come in a variety of shapes and sizes that can be used to make lightweight and portable planters called troughs. In addition to being portable, foam troughs can be textured and colored in many different ways. Their foam insulates roots from excesses of heat and cold, and you also have the added satisfaction of knowing that you are repurposing something that might otherwise end up in a landfill. There are 3 steps to making a foam trough. Carve and texture, sand and glaze, and apply a paint finish. The first step is to carve and texture the styrofoam box. During this process, you will completely remove and transform the surface of the trough. There are many tools that you can use to texture your foam trough. Here are an assortment of tools that I use, including a simple wood carving set, wire brushes, and knives and saws. Each tool creates a different effect, and you can experiment to learn which effects you like best. Here are 3 examples of different texture effects. The first trough has been wire brushed and sanded to give it the effect of a smooth, weathered boulder. This smaller planter is actually made from a lid. The lids that come with the boxes are often thrown away, and you can use them to experiment with textures and paint effects. The pitted texture you see here was created using a wood carving tool. The main tool used on this trough was a bread knife that leaves slice marks on the surface of the trough. Here I am starting the carving process. You can see that I am working inside a bin with a trash bag to collect the little bits of styrofoam that are removed. This is a messy process, and you will want to work outside or in an area that can be cleaned up. My favorite tool is an inexpensive bread knife. I start by cutting off all of the sharp corners at the top, sides, and bottom. I like to take thin slices off the sides of the box in a sawing motion. It creates a rough, hewn look that I really like. I continue to work at removing the original surface of the box. Be sure to make some nicks and gouges as you work. This will help give character to the finished product. I am using a round file to make holes in the bottom of the trough. It is important to have good drainage in a trough, and I like to make lots of small drainage holes rather than a single large one that could become blocked by an aggressive root or stray rock. Once you've got the foam trough carved and textured the way you like it, it's time to sand and glaze it to give it a more refined and finished look. You can do as much sanding as you want. A more sanding makes a more finely textured finished product. Less sanding makes a more rustic and coarser finished surface. Once you're satisfied with the surface texture, apply a heat gun sparingly to the entire surface, including all of the drainage holes. This seals and glazes your trough. Finally, I carefully inspect my foam trough and give it a light sanding if there are any rough surfaces. Now we're ready for step 3, apply a paint finish. I use regular exterior flat house paint to paint the troughs. You can use either plain paint or sanded with a little texture in it, but the texture on the trough itself will provide a lot of the visual interest. I make a little pedestal that I can put the trough on so it can rotate freely while I paint it. I start the painting process by applying a base coat all over the exterior surface of the trough and down several inches into the interior. I like to use a dark color for this process because I think it adds more depth and shadows to the finished product. Once we're finished with this process, you can see we have a painted trough on the left that has a more one-dimensional look than one that has had multiple layers of different colors put on it, and that's what we're after here. Additional colors can be applied in various ways. You can use sponges, rollers of different naps, brushes. I tend to like to use a dry brush or dry roller technique during this phase so that you add just bits of color on top of the base. I achieve a dry roller by first loading the roller and then rolling it out on newspaper until I get a dappled texture, and then I work on the surface of the trough. You can use the same kind of technique with a brush or a sponge. In these two finished troughs, you can see how minor differences in texture and color produce distinctively different effects. And here we have a finished trough. Thanks for watching. We hope that this video has inspired you to make your own foam trough.